looks like the predicted demise of the New England Patriots isn't coming just yet. The defending AFC champs have looked cold for much of September with losses to Jacksonville and Detroit. But on Sunday, the Pats rebounded with a resounding 38-7 win over the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins were undefeated and atop the AFC East entering the game. So joining me now from Las Vegas is Bill Reiter. He's the host of Reiter's Block on CBS Sports HQ. Hi, Bill. So with that big win, is everything back to normal in New England?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Patriots haters. I know there are many of you out there. I have no dog in this fight. But the Patriots are the Patriots. They started 2-2 last year before winning 8 in a row. And as long as Tom Brady still thinks he can play at the level that we saw last year when he was the MVP, Tanya, the Patriots are going to be right up there in competition. They did what they always do, especially to the Dolphins. They dominated home. And unfortunately for many fans, the Patriots are who we thought they were, a very good football team.
All right. So meanwhile, in the AFC North, the Steelers lost to the Ravens, who now moved to 3-1. The Bengals beat the Falcons to also move to 3-1. Are the Ravens and the Bengals good enough to put a scare in Pittsburgh? I
think they are, and I think the Falcons, despite being 1-3, I think that's a pretty good football team. Those are 2 good wins. I think both the Ravens and the Bengals, how well they've played, how good of football teams they seem to be, and the fact for the Steelers that the dysfunction in that locker room, from Le'Veon Bell to other issues, Antonio Brown's frustrations, those things are real. And I think the combination should have Steelers fans very concerned about this season.
And we will get to Le'Veon Bell in a moment, but I want to talk about really quickly in the NFC, the defending champion Philadelphia Eagles lost to the Tennessee Titans in overtime. Should they be concerned?
Yeah, I mean, it's game 2 back for Carson Wentz. You understand that he's going to need some time. And I think we get to the point here 4 weeks in, we start to have a clearer picture of the NFL. And the Titans are a legit team. They've got some really impressive wins, including against the Eagles. Mike Vrabel, the new head coach, is widely considered one of the brighter rising minds, football minds in the NFL. So, yes, I think the Eagles have some concerns. They have some worries. But I also think they lost to a pretty good Titans team that we didn't expect to be this good this year. And championship hangovers are real things. And Carson Wentz has got to find his sea legs. They're still a very good football team. I don't think it's panic time, but I do think you're a little worried if you're in Philly.
Now, the Chicago Bears put a big-time hurting on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday, 48-10. So are the Bears for real?
I hope so, as a Bears fan. I've been waiting for a quarterback performance like that for a long time. I think you have to take them for real. They were a top 10 defense last year. They added Khalil Mack in that trade from the Raiders. They could have beaten the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau this year. That Aaron Rodgers heroics that brought the Pack back in the second half in the fourth quarter. That's a really tough division. There's at least 3 really good football teams in that division. But it turns out the Chicago Bears under new head coach Matt Nagy are one of them.
Now, we have to turn to some sad news now. Seahawks safety Earl Thomas broke his leg, giving a gesture to the crowd that we can't show here and likely ending his tumultuous tenure in Seattle. So where do the Seahawks go from here?
Yeah, I mean, the Seahawks have a young defense that has not become the stout defense of years past. I think they hoped might happen when the Legion of Boom went away. And for Earl Thomas, it's such an unfair, and life is sometimes unfair, end to a pretty great career. Certainly marred not just by the injury and the gesture that you referenced, Tanya, but the fact he wanted a longer deal or a better deal. He didn't get it. He held out until the start of the season. And this is why players do that sometimes. Yeah. Guys do get hurt. And it is a business, and it can go badly sometimes.
Absolutely. And so does this injury then give more weight to his and Le'Veon Bell's push for guaranteed money in NFL contracts? I mean, this is a short career for a lot of players.
Yeah, I think it really does. And, Le'Veon Bell obviously already was pretty resolute in not being franchise tagged a second time, not signing that tender. And this is just going to increase that. In fact, on social media, he let folks know he's going to continue to be the quote unquote bad guy for everybody else. Yeah, I mean, and they tell you this in the NFL, and players will tell you it takes them a few years to figure it out. You can love the game, but the game doesn't love you back. It is a business. Guys do get hurt. And I think it probably does underscore for Le'Veon Bell the fact that he's not going to report until he absolutely has to, which is November, to make sure he retains that free agency year. But Steelers fans probably not going to see him for a while.
Do you think we're going to see this come up, though, in contract negotiations across the board?
I think absolutely. I think the combination of Earl Thomas's injury, what Le'Veon Bell is doing, and guys have talked about this, looking across at their friends and their colleagues and their buddies in the NBA who are getting massive, massive guaranteed money. I think it will be a very difficult and very ugly CBA negotiation in a few years when that comes up between the Players Association and the NFL owners.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to make sense. So, I have no dog in the fight either, like you said earlier, but it just does, from my perspective, certainly it seems to make sense because, again, these careers can be very short. All right, so we've got a big matchup tonight, Kansas City at Denver. Can Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes keep up his hot start at Mile High?
I'm not betting against him. I've been on the Mahomes bandwagon for a while, and it's an interesting challenge. I mean, Denver can be a tough place to play, and that defense, although historically the last few years pretty good, is middle of the pack, 16th and 15th in points allowed and in passing defense. So certainly things are primed for Mahomes to have a really, really good night, and they're going to need him to because as good as that Chiefs offense has been, it's the best in football. Their defense is one of the worst, so it's going to be interesting to see whether or not Mahomes keeps it going or whether or not that terrible Chiefs defense gives Case Keenum, the Broncos quarterback, a chance to kickstart his season a little bit.
All right, now finally, the MLB playoffs start tomorrow. What are you looking for this October?
Well, the National League has been so interesting with all the storylines and the play-in games. But for me, we've got two teams that won 100 games in the American League that are good enough most years to be the out-and-out favorites to win the World Series. One is the Boston Red Sox. They won a silly number of games. They're obviously loaded. Houston Astros, and that starting rotation is really, really good. And I'm not trying to hate on Cleveland. Cleveland Indians, the first team in Major League Baseball history to have 4 starting pitchers with 200 or more strikeouts each. I mean, the American League is absolutely loaded. I'm very curious who dukes it out and comes out of the American League because whoever that is will be the favorite in the World Series.
It will be an exciting season to watch for sure. Bill Reiter, thank you.
You bet.
And you can catch Bill's show, Reiter's Block, at 5 p.m. Monday through Thursday on CBS Sports HQ.